Have you ever been puzzled as to why, with the same illness, some people recover quickly while others suffer long-term? Why do some possess endless wealth yet are plagued by sickness, while others live in poverty but remain healthy and free from worry? In the wisdom of the Dharma, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva reveals a profound and startling truth. Every ailment in our body is essentially the karmic debt being settled from past lives. This statement enlightened countless people, yet it also sparked deeper reflections. Why is illness considered a manifestation of karmic debt? How should these debts be repaid? What path of liberation is contained within the wisdom of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva? Today, let us together step into this ancient and profound wisdom, exploring the mysteries of illness and karma, and seeking the bright path leading to physical and mental well-being. In the Sutra of Wondrous Causes, the Buddha is expounding the Dharma to the four assemblies of disciples. Among the crowd, a wealthy merchant named Nanda stood out prominently. His complexion was haggard, his hands trembled incessantly, and his body was so weak that he seemed ready to collapse at any moment. Despite his vast wealth, a strange illness had tormented him for many years, causing him great suffering. Venerable teacher, your disciple is truly puzzled. Why is it that despite possessing countless riches, I am afflicted with constant illness? If there is a past life, then surely I must have committed many misdeeds. If there were no past lives, then where does this usual suffering originate? Nanda knelt on the ground and asked, his voice filled with pain and confusion. The Buddha compassionately gazed upon him. Well said. You have asked well. Sentient beings, within the cycle of the 6 realms of rebirth, create countless and boundless karmic actions. Wholesome karma will yield the fruition of happiness, while unwholesome karma will inevitably result in the fruition of suffering. Illness is precisely a manifestation of karmic retribution. At this moment, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva was present, and when Yin stood up, the Blessed One, since illness is the manifestation of karmic causes from past lives, does each different ailment represent a distinct karmic obstruction? Please provide a detailed explanation for sentient beings. The Buddha nodded and said, indeed, that is so. Those who suffer from headaches and dizziness may have, in past lives, engaged in hitting or abusing their parents and elders. Those who suffer from back pain may have previously shown disrespect to the 3 jewels. Those suffering from numbness and paralysis of the hands and feet, or those previously affected and unable to release the attachment. Those whose heart rhythm fluctuates rapidly may have previously harbored lustful thoughts that harmed others. All suffering and ailments arise from causes. During the Dharma assembly, there was a physician named Chipa, the most renowned medical master of the time. Upon hearing the Buddha's teachings, the celestial Lord pondered deeply and asked, Shakyamuni, if illnesses arise from karmic obstructions of past lives, then wouldn't current medical practices and medicines be of no use? Not so, the Buddha replied with a smile. While karmic obstacles are certain, the force of karma can be transformed. Like a wheel stuck in a quagmire, it is difficult to get free by brute force alone. One must lighten the burden to successfully escape. The efficacy of medicine is precisely one of the skillful means for alleviating karmic effects. Have you ever had similar doubts? When we face chronic illnesses that do not heal, have we ever questioned the power of medicine? Perhaps the Buddha's forthcoming commentary will offer you an entirely new perspective. The Buddha then proceeded to tell a vivid parable. Suppose someone owes 1,000 gold coins, and the creditor comes to collect the debt. If the debtor can first repay a portion, the remaining debt can be negotiated for an extension. If the debtor sincerely repents and shows a determination to repay, the creditor may even forgive part of the debt. The same applies to illness. If one can use wholesome karma to eliminate unwholesome karma, the suffering of disease will naturally diminish. After hearing this, Ananda still had doubts and said, Blessed One, I am dull-witted and do not understand how to use wholesome karma to eradicate unwholesome karma. The Buddha patiently explained that reciting scriptures and offering praise, practicing generous giving extensively, upholding precepts, and diligently advancing are all effective methods for eliminating negative karma. More importantly, understand cause and effect, abide in the present moment, without resentment or hatred. At this moment, Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara added, I have seen many sentient beings suffering from the same illness. Some endure torment as if life is unbearable, while others face it with calmness and peace. The difference lies in the mindset. If the mind clings, the suffering intensifies. If the mind lets go, the pain is reduced by half. Nanda seemed to have attained some understanding upon hearing it. So that was the case. In the past, I only sought my own healing, never considering that it was repaying the debts of past lives. From now on, I shall face this with the right attitude. An elderly bhikkhu present raised a deeper question. Blessed One, practitioners like us often experience illness and pain as well. How should this be understood? The Buddha spoke with kindness. Well done. Practitioners should have a clear understanding of the nature of suffering caused by illness. The fact that those who uphold precepts and cultivate still experience pain indicates that karmic consequences cannot be eliminated overnight. However, practitioners differ from ordinary people in three major ways. First, they clearly understand cause and effect and remain calm. Second, they skillfully use sickness and suffering to cultivate wisdom. Third, they use these experiences to eradicate karmic obstacles and accelerate liberation. Nanda continued to inquire, Bhagwan, if we now diligently practice, can we completely eradicate disease? The Buddha smiled gently and shook his head, for karma follows like a shadow, difficult to entirely avoid. Even though the Buddha perceives the world, he may still experience headaches and back pain. The difference lies in that ordinary beings suffer from illness and pain, whereas the sage can transform the bitterness of suffering into practice cultivation and abiding in conditions. This answer causes everyone to fall into deep contemplation. Indeed, even the Buddha experienced illness. What does this signify? Perhaps illness itself is not frightening. What is truly frightening is our attitude and approach toward illness. Then, how exactly should one face illness and repay the karmic debts? Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva stepped forward respectfully and asked, Blessed One, you just mentioned that illness is the settlement of debts owed from past lives. How can these debts be repaid most perfectly? What kind of mindset should sentient beings have when facing these debt collectors? The Buddha's gaze turned toward Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, his eyes filled with profound compassion, saying, Excellent. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, you have touched upon a crucial point. Disease is indeed a debt incurred from past lives, and the path to repaying this debt contains the secret to liberation. Those attending the Dharma assembly all pricked up their ears, and Nanda, being frail in body, was especially eager not to miss a single word from the Buddha. This teaching fundamentally concerns whether he can be freed from the suffering of illness. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva respectfully addresses the venerable monk and the Buddha. Sentient beings, due to ignorance, create karma and therefore suffer illness and pain in this life. This is the manifestation of cause and effect. However, since the debts from past lives have already been incurred, how should they be resolved or settled in this present life? Is one only to silently endure and allow karmic retribution to naturally dissipate? The Buddha smiled faintly and said, No, it is not so. Karmic debts, though fixed, can be skillfully repaid through wise methods. Just like worldly debts, some people only know how to endure them stubbornly, suffering day and night with unbearable anguish, while others understand how to adapt flexibly, not only repaying the debts with ease, but also turning misfortunes into blessings. Natho urgently asked, World-honored one, please teach the method of skillful repayment. The disciple yearned to listen. The Buddha, Gazing at the expectant eyes filling the assembly, spoke slowly. Today I will expound to you the 3 methods of repaying debts. This teaching has been little known for thousands of years. If one can follow and practice it faithfully, not only can it alleviate present worldly suffering, but it can also completely liberate one from the cycle of samsara. Just as the Buddha was about to reveal this supreme, wondrous Dharma, suddenly countless beams of light radiated from the sky, and the earth and heavens appeared illuminated within the light, paying homage to the Buddha. World-honored one, as the sovereign of the 33 heavens, I have witnessed countless heavenly beings afflicted by karmic retributions and suffering from ailments. Only by understanding the method you taught for clearing karmic accounts can one transcend the sea of suffering. May the world-honored one, with boundless compassion, expound this Dharma in detail for all sentient beings in the heavens and the human realm. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva also joined both hands in reverence and said, "Indeed, world-honored one, the law of reckoning past karmic debts is the fundamental principle for sentient beings to be freed from suffering and attain happiness. The disciple has witnessed many sentient beings burdened with karmic debts. Some sink into suffering, while others seize the opportunity to attain liberation. What is the profound truth behind this path of accounting? How should sentient beings confront the debt collectors from past lives?" The Blessed One solemnly taught that Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva presented 3 methods to repay past life debts. First, to understand the debt clearly. Second, to repay the debt. Third, to extinguish the debt. The so-called clear debt refers to the understanding of the true nature of karmic obstacles. Sentient beings, due to ignorance and deluded thoughts, encounter various unwholesome karmas, and thus inevitably experience suffering and illness in this life. Understanding this truth without relying on others, abiding in the present moment with a calm mind, naturally alleviates suffering and illness. The Buddha picked up a petal, gently placed it in the palm of his hand, and observed the petal, as light as fine red down. If I firmly grasp completion, I will feel its presence. When illness arises, if the mind lets go, suffering is mild. If the mind clings, suffering intensifies. Have you noticed that when we pay special attention to a particular area of pain in the body, the sensation of pain seems to become more pronounced? When we relax our mind and shift our attention, the sensation of pain diminishes. This is precisely the modern interpretation of the Buddha's teaching. If the mind is released, suffering becomes mild. If the mind clings, suffering intensifies. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva nodded in agreement, and Shakyamuni Buddha said, "Very well spoken. I once saw an old practitioner afflicted with illness, yet wearing a gentle smile. I asked the reason, and he replied, 'The physical body is sick, but the Dharma body remains unharmed. If the mind is uncontaminated, where does suffering come from?' This is the wisdom of clarity and insight. The so-called repaying of karmic debt refers to the elimination of negative karma through positive actions." The Buddha continued, "Just as when one is indebted and repays a portion on time, the creditor will not overly press for the remainder. Similarly, if sentient beings can recite scriptures and offer praise, extensively practice without losing diligence, uphold precepts with earnestness, and treat others with compassion, they will not only alleviate present worldly sufferings, but also eradicate past negative karma." Nanda urgently asked, "Blessed One, what is the specific method to repay debts?" The Buddha compassionately answered that one should respectfully repent before the Buddha, with sincere and wholehearted intention, without concealment or deception. Secondly, one should not cease performing good deeds, acting according to circumstances without seeking any reward. Thirdly, to observe the precepts and practice accordingly, in accordance with the rules and regulations, without violation or transgression. Fourthly, recite sutras and chant the Buddha's name with a single-minded focus, without distraction, wavering, or deviation. These 4 methods are essential for repaying debts. The so-called elimination of karmic debt is achieved through penetrating insight into emptiness by means of prajnaparamita wisdom. The Buddha's eyes radiated light, and his voice roared like a mighty swan. If one can comprehend this truth, understanding that suffering is fundamentally emptiness, they can bind the two losses. Thus, their creditors will dissipate, and karmic obstacles will naturally be extinguished. The Buddha said again, Subhuti, you should know that the unsurpassed, profound, and subtle Dharma is extremely difficult to encounter even in 100,000 million kalpas. Today, I briefly explain the essential point to you. The mind itself is Buddha, and Buddha is none other than the mind. If one can reflect back upon the mind and abide in the pure, original nature, one transcends karmic obstacles and is not burdened by the suffering of illness. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva further added, in countless past eons, I made a great vow. If any sentient being calls upon my name, I will hear their suffering. Should beings in the world be tormented by illness and pain, they may sincerely recite my name with single-minded devotion, and I will surely protect them, granting peace to their hearts. Although it may not immediately eliminate the illness or pain, it can help cultivate joy in the mind and alleviate suffering. At this moment, the physician Kipa suddenly understood and said to Shakyamuni, I now comprehend why some patients, though given good prescriptions, do not recover, while some patients heal even without medicine. Originally, aside from medication, the mental attitude is even more crucial. The Buddha praised, well done. Chipa, you have realized the true essence of a healer. Curing illness requires not only healing the body, but also the mind. If one can help the patient let go of attachment, resentment, and fear, the efficacy of the medicine can increase by 1/3. This statement has prompted deep reflection. Modern medicine has confirmed that a positive and optimistic mindset can indeed promote recovery from illness. Conversely, negative and pessimistic emotions can suppress the functioning of the immune system. The wisdom of the Buddha from 2,500 years ago has finally been confirmed by modern science today. Subhuti asked again, World-honored one, how should we ordinary people face illness in our daily lives? The Buddha compassionately replied, First, accept reality without resentment or hatred, understanding that illness is the result of past life causes and conditions. One should accept it with equanimity upon its arrival. Secondly, seek healing with unwavering perseverance. One must seek medical treatment without attachment to complete recovery. Third, cultivate wholesome deeds with neither haste nor delay. Reciting sutras and paying homage to the Buddha, without neglecting virtuous deeds, gradually dissolves past evil karma. Fourth, cultivate meditation with steadiness and clarity, avoiding confusion and obscurity. Calm the mind through meditation to alleviate physical and mental suffering. These 4 suggestions are both practical and deeply philosophical. Accepting reality does not mean passively waiting for death, but rather facing it with rationality. Seeking healing is not blind faith in medicine, but rather a non-attachment to the outcome. Practicing wholesome deeds and meditation are fundamental methods to transform karmic forces. Afterwards, Nanda, following the Buddha's teachings, began profound self-reflection and extensively cultivated wholesome deeds. He prostrates before the Buddha daily to repent, does his best not to fail in practicing good deeds, and concurrently chants the holy name of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. Remarkably, his condition gradually improved, and in less than half a year, he was mostly healed. It is noteworthy that Nanda's transformation was not only physical, but, more importantly, a shift in his mindset. He no longer views illness as an enemy, but rather as the settlement of karmic debts from past lives and a supportive condition for spiritual practice in this life. This shift in mindset, on the contrary, accelerated the improvement of the condition. He came again to the 7 Elements Sutra assembly, prostrated before the Buddha, and expressed his gratitude. The Buddha said, Shakyamuni, Your teachings are like nectar poured upon my head, allowing me to understand the true essence of life. I no longer fear illness. Instead, I am grateful to it for giving me the opportunity to cultivate wholesome karma and to reflect on life. The Buddha smiled and said, "Well said. Subhuti, you have clearly understood the true nature of disease. It is both the settlement of debts owed from past lives and a favorable condition for the advancement of practice in this life." The Buddha said, "If there is no illness or pain, people are often immersed in sensual pleasures and find it difficult to engage in reflection. With illness and pain, one can be inspired to develop the aspiration to leave samsara and cultivate compassion." This passage reveals another layer of meaning behind illness. It is not only a manifestation of karma, but also an opportunity that propels us toward awakening. Just as many people only begin to pay attention to their health and reassess their lifestyle after becoming ill, some people even change their outlook on life due to illness, becoming more appreciative of life and caring toward others. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva also admonished the public, "Be aware that although illness and suffering arise due to karmic causes, karma is not an unalterable fate. If one diligently cultivates practice and widely plants seeds of goodness, not only can one alleviate the sufferings of illness in this life, but also sever the roots of rebirth in future existences. If one wishes to know the causes of past lives, the effects experienced in this life are the signs. If one wishes to know the results of future lives, the actions performed in this life are the causes. The wholesome causes sown today will inevitably bear wholesome fruits in the future." The Buddha concluded by saying, "Illness is like a mirror, reflecting the karma from past lives. Illness is like a poem, teaching the truth of impermanence. Illness is like oil, aiding us in the growth of wisdom. If one can face illness with right view, not only can the suffering be alleviated, but one can also use this opportunity to diligently cultivate practice, ultimately attaining liberation." The Dharma assembly concluded, and everyone was filled with a profound joy and understanding. They deeply comprehended the teaching of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. Illness is the repayment of debts accumulated in past lives. Only by properly repaying these debts can one be liberated from suffering and attain true freedom of body and mind. Reflecting on the wisdom learned today, we could draw several important insights. First, illness is the manifestation of karma, but it is not an unalterable destiny. As the Buddha said, karma follows like a shadow, but it can be transformed through present actions. We should neither completely deny the power of medicine nor blindly believe that medicine can solve all problems. Secondly, the mindset when facing illness is crucial. Pessimism and fear only intensify suffering, while acceptance and calmness can alleviate pain. As the elder practitioner said, the physical body may be ill, but the Dharma body remains unharmed. If the mind is unstained, from where would suffering arise? Thirdly, the three methods of understanding debt, repaying debt, and eliminating debt offer us a complete path to address afflictions and obstacles. Understanding cause and effect, harboring no resentment or hatred, extensively cultivating wholesome deeds, dissolving unwholesome karma, realizing emptiness, and transcending attachment. Ultimately, illness is not only suffering, but also an opportunity for growth. It prompts us to reflect on the meaning of life, cherish the health we have in the present moment, and cultivate compassion for others. Perhaps we can approach illness from an entirely new perspective. It is both the settlement of karmic debts from past lives and an accelerator for practice in this life. By facing it correctly, we can not only alleviate suffering, but also use this opportunity to embark on the path of awakening and liberation. In the journey of life, illness may be inevitable, but we can choose the attitude with which we face it. May the wisdom of the Buddha and Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva be the beacon that guides you through illness, leading you out of the shadows of suffering, illuminating the path to health and liberation.